This is Nobody Likes Casey McLain, with your host, the one and only person who thinks this podcast should exist, Casey McLain.
Hello and welcome to the Nobody Likes Casey McLain podcast. I'm Casey McLain. Today's guest is Raanan Hershberg. He is a buddy of mine. He has a one-man show right now called Ronimilly that he is doing. It's like every other week or something like that, once a month for free on Zoom. Check it out. We talked about, I believe we did a lot of, this was a contentious, this was a contentious episode. We spent more time than we should have, probably, me confronting him about ghosting me the last time he was in town. We also talked about, and this might not be interesting to everybody, but we talked about a recent article that came out claiming that there is a huge alt-right presence in comedy, which I disagree with. So we talked about the author of that comedy article, if you're familiar with comedy journalism, which is just so fucking embarrassing to say, comedy journalism. But if you're familiar with comedy journalism, you probably either know the article or are familiar with the writer. So I hope you enjoy that. If not, like this episode, we spend a lot of time on kind of inside comedy shit. So I thought it was incredibly fun, by the way. I love Raanan. I think he's very, very funny. And I'm not just saying that because I'd like to hang out with him the next time he comes to Tacoma. But we argue a lot in this about. We really get into it. Raanan's a great dude, and I hope you follow him on Instagram and Twitter at, I think it's Raanan Comedy. Go to raanancomedy.com. Check out his upcoming stand-up dates. He is, I think, one of the most prolific and funny dudes that I've met, and I think you will enjoy his stand-up. Check out, he has, I think, this is not even to kiss his ass, because I almost guarantee he won't listen to this, but he did whatever the show is, Late Show with James Corden or whatever. I stand by this completely. I think it's the best late night set I've seen since I started doing comedy, and go check that out. It's really, really funny. So anyway, I'm not going to bother you much longer. Follow me on all social media platforms at the Casey McLain. I have a bunch of dates changing on my calendar, by the way, so go to thecaseymclain.com/calendar. If you were out there coming to see me in Oklahoma City, I got canceled from that gig. I canceled by the way. In this context, canceled means something different. The gig got canceled. I didn't get canceled. So I'm not going to Oklahoma City, but I am going to Boise at the end of March 25th and 26th, I think. thecaseymclain.com/calendar. Check it out. Tons of stand-up dates. By the way, I think I'm going to try to record something in August in Appleton, Wisconsin. So if you're, for some reason, listening to this and you're within easy driving distance to Appleton, Wisconsin, come out. Check my calendar. I think it's August 13th and 14th. Maybe it's an album. Maybe it's an EP. I have a lot of thoughts about what it could be. I have a lot of thoughts about burning 100% of my material, which who knows. Either way, please come out if you live in a town that I'm coming to. And thank you for listening to this podcast, and enjoy Raanan Hershberg.
Hey.
What's up?
How's it going, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm wearing your shirt.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Did you have to wait for the dryer to finish so you could put it in?
No, it was actually the only clean shirt I had left. It was kind of a coincidence.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
Yeah.
So it's last in the rotation. That's what I've just learned.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the only thing last. I can pull from that.
It's, and honestly, sometimes I clean my clothes before I even get to it. But this was not one of those times. I guess
so it's in
called.
Perfect condition. That's the
it's pretty good condition.
View.
Yeah, I go out of my way not to wear it, but sometimes I'm forced to. No, I like it. It's a nice shirt.
Thank you. I actually was I just ordered I finally am switching merch up. So
okay.
do you ever sell merch? You just sell albums, right?
Yeah, like when I was on the road. Yeah, I never sold T-shirts or anything.
Gotcha. By the way, I'm recording now, so
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
This is as on as I'm going to be, so it's not going to be a shift. It's the amount of energy I think you deserve for your last minute.
What are you talking about? You're literally the only person I had like a slot to. I had like a time frame. You're the only person I messaged today.
Oh well,
First person I thought of.
But like the day of. Oh, let me get my Zoom thing on.
What's that?
Let me get my Zoom thing on. I got like a little ring light.
Oh wow! The
Did that make it look better?
I think it made it look much worse. Actually,
fuck, really? Is that much worse?
This is way better than.
Is this worse?
This is better right now. Whatever you have right now.
Well, this is the light on. But this
good.
Is this better than it was before I even put the light? Is this better than this?
Yeah, it's a little bit better.
Right, that's better.
So this is the scenario. It snowed today in Tacoma.
Oh wow.
This podcast doesn't come out for like 5 days, but I was like, oh shit, I'm home unexpectedly. I can't work because my wife her school is like operating. And so I was like, this is a great day to talk to my buddy Raanan, and then you just take it as like, oh, last minute fucking.
Do you know anything about these Blue Yeti mics?
I hate them.
What you do? Should I get a different mic?
I mean, if you already paid for it, you should.
Why do you hate it?
I just don't like the way they sound.
Oh, you don't like the way that? So does not sound great?
It's. I think it sounds better than like talking into your webcam mic, but just like if for the money, I think you could do a lot better job.
Oh, really?
You could get a better mic for the money.
Well, also, it's like I don't really like. You're supposed to put it right in front of you, right?
Yeah.
But then it kind of like blocks your face.
Yeah, there's a. Are you in the return window? I could recommend you a mic.
No, but I'm in the fucking rich from unemployment money window. Yeah, do you know of one that's like 100 and like in the 100 area that's really good?
Yeah, I'll send you it. I'll send you.
So do you sound better than me right now?
Well, hold on. That's actually a good question because
I feel like you don't. But I also have it like right here, which I don't like.
Yeah, I think I sound a lot better than you.
Really? You sound better?
We could put a poll up. I think off to the sides may be better because then. By the way, this is just we're fucking grinding into just a hot podcast here.
Oh yeah.
If people haven't turned this off by now.
I mean, I assume you have like 4 just very loyal listeners. So, so if this didn't deter your parents, I don't think if anything before having deterred, I don't think this will. But yeah, maybe I'll get a different mic. Yeah, because I'm doing a lot of Zoom shit.
Yeah, the one that I'll recommend to you would be good for if you're doing like if you want it to feel like stand up, because I know you do a lot of you're doing a lot of virtual shows right now. It's like a handheld mic that you can also use for podcasts and shit like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll send you a link to it.
But then you've never sold it the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've never sold T-shirts. You have sold albums. You actually have a joke about. You did a joke. You and I did a show together in Tacoma where you did a joke about how hacks sell shirts.
Wasn't it part of Off the Grid, my show about my phone?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something like
shirts that night.
Yeah, I had a bit. I was making fun of people who sell shirts. I can't remember I feel like the bit was like it was just talking about how like a stand-up will like insert it in there. They'll be like, and then I fucked a duck, or then I punched a duck in the pussy, and then at the end of their show they're like, and I'm selling shirts later. It's just like a picture of someone punching a duck in the pussy. Like, and everyone's like, from what he said before. But I remember when I was doing that show, I actually made a shirt of someone punching a duck in the pussy. It had like a prop. I don't think it worked. I think maybe the contradiction of me calling someone else a hack, but then trying to have like a prop joke. Yeah. But I feel like do you remember me taking out the shirt then? Or I feel like
you didn't have the shirt then.
I probably had stopped using it at that point. Yeah. But I had the shirt in the act. Or maybe I was selling it. Oh, maybe I was selling it after the show. The duck,
that's funny.
The duck pussy thing. Yeah.
That is a funny. Do you think you actually sold shirts or?
I think I sold maybe 1 or 2.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
Just I could only do it like in that pussy kind of ironically cop out way. I've not make money, and you have like kids or whatever, or 1 kid or 12 kids, or I can't keep track. But I don't begrudge anyone.
Yeah.
I just think I just never got my shit together enough to get shirts.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good to do it. I will say that. Also, I live on the West Coast, so like we have space to store them.
Right. That was the other thing. I like traveled very lightly because I didn't have a car. And I've only recently reached the level of adulthood where I started like bringing an actual like suitcase. For years, I just had a backpack, so I just travel everywhere. So I didn't really know how to, and move them around. And I always thought selling albums was more of like the long term. Like, yeah, you make money with shirts, but the albums, that spreads the word, and that's more of a long term thing. And little did I know, albums are completely obsolete and shirts are way better. So
before I had merch, I was always like, I'm never gonna sell merch until it's an album, because that's like you're selling your comedy, right? Like it's
right. You're not here to sell shirts, yeah.
Yeah, and then the shirts, like one, they just sell so well in comparison, and
right.
Two, and also like I don't have an album, and three, like you said, like first off, anyone can go stream your album for free the day it comes out.
Albums became kind of pointless, and I mean, I think shirts, whatever. Is it hacky? Yes. Do you need the money? If I mean, it's hacky, but it's also, it sucks to be broke and not be able to afford to do anything, Right. So,
yeah, I mean, it's like
you're allowed a certain amount of hack if you sure. It's not even hackiness if you need money,
Yeah.
Like if someone, in a way, hackiness is almost like if you're super successful and you're still selling shirts, then it's like, you fucking hack. You don't need the money, but you know what I mean? But like if you're starting out, that's just survival.
Well, I did work with, so in that story, you say Pauly Shore. I know it's not actually Pauly Shore.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about like a 90s hack or whatever, but I worked with Pauly Shore as an MC, and I'm like a tryhard at comedy. So like I am a tryhard, like an annoying tryhard. So I always help. If I'm MCing, I'm helping the headliner sell merch. I'm taking pictures, every fucking thing. And Pauly Shore sells 2 headshots of himself that he'll sign for you. One is a low res image of him from, I don't have the catalog. One is Encino Man. Oh, and Biodome. The other one's Biodome. So Encino Man and Biodome. These 2 headshots. Right. One's not even a headshot. One is a headshot. One is just a low res still from the movie.
Right.
And they're $20 each. I sold. Pauly and I combined to sell probably $2,500 worth.
And how much money did he give you?
He gave me $100, but I also filmed his set. But he also accused me of taking money because I was just like shoving, it's like all happening very quickly, right? So I'm shoving it in my pockets. I had empty pockets. I completely empty my pockets out for him. And he's like, "Are you sure there's not more in there?"
Wow, really?
Just like, what? First off, like,
it's like every set you've made you don't deserve. Like literally every single set. So you're worried I'm stealing. None of this. You've earned none of it. Yeah. You are a piece of shit who was born into a good situation, who was annoying at the right time. You know what I mean? You were just annoying in 1992, and for some reason that was appealing to fucking half-a-tard 12-year-olds. Like, you don't deserve any money. There's
20 years later, still 20. I mean, like,
I'm really lashing out on him. But he also, like, to be fair, he's not. There's nothing that he sold out from. I mean, it's not like that's like hacky. I mean, he is. There's no like. This isn't the integrity he used to have. You know what I mean? Like,
did you ever work with him? Really? Or I know I don't want to say.
I never did, and I always felt like a piece of shit for using his name, and I eventually changed it. Actually,
okay.
It was a true story about the story I tell. It was actually when I was working with Tom Arnold, who was very nice. And I still make fun of him, the act. It's a cheap joke. It's just the joke is what is this? Just like I worked with a comedian who's like a big deal in the 90s, kind of washed up now. Let's call him Pauly Shore, right? You know what I mean? It's a very cheap joke. But when I was working on the story, I felt like I needed kind of a cheaper joke to get into the story because the story's a little nuanced. It pops really hard at the end, but kind of builds up. So I just needed a little kind of like a slightly hacky thing in the beginning just to get the audience on board to what I think is one of my better bits. But Tom Arnold wasn't working when I said it. I would be like, someone washed up. It was a big deal in the 90s, kind of washed up now. Let's call him Tom Arnold. And people were like, what? Who? They had to remember for a second. And I guess it's not like, people don't really hate Tom Arnold. So it was like, but then Pauly Shore was like the easy one.
Yeah.
And then it became a really easy joke. But it always got like a big pop.
Who did you change it
to? Give me
to?
the confidence. No, I changed it to Pauly Shore.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Well, I was before everything collapsed. I was trying to work it into a late night set, and one of the late night guys told me it was actually kind of funny. He's like, "Don't use Pauly Shore. It's kind of punching down." And I'm like, "How's that punching down? He's a millionaire." But like, it is like I think. What was I gonna say? I think I changed at that point to I just changed it to I was opening for a magician at a bowling alley.
Oh, okay.
And then I had some line like because sometimes dreams do come true. It was still kind of like an easy fucking intro, but like it was better than Pauly Shore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did this morning radio thing, and I actually should have just not participaed. I should have but they were like, "Who's the worst comic you've ever worked with?" And the guy I should have learned from. I was working with Augie Smith. Do you know Augie Smith?
Yeah, I don't know him, but I've heard he's really great.
Yeah, so we were. He's like, yeah, dude, I'm not gonna do that. And I was like, well, I have one. And then I told I literally go. One time I was working with Pauly Shore, and then they have like a morning zoo like alarm that goes off, and it's like the Pauly Shore alarm. Because apparently so many people have said Pauly Shore that they won't let you answer Pauly Shore.
Well, that's why I said Pauly Shore, because I just knew he was a dick from all these stories. And I've heard really shitty things about him. And I have the thing I hate more than anything is someone who's headlining, treating the staff or people lesser than, like I said, lesser than them, as if they're actually lesser, treating the animals that that are opening for them, but treating like people like like shit. So I didn't have any. I didn't really care using his name.
Yeah, the more offensive thing than accusing me of taking money from him was that he left with a 25-year-old the first night, which he's 74 years old and hasn't had a hit movie since the 90s. Like, what the fuck is going on?
But also, like, it's all what you would have expected.
Yeah.
Every Pauly Shore is one of those things where it's like he just lives up to everything, right? Granted, I've never met him, so I'm really speaking out of my ass here. But what if I meet him once? He's just the nicest guy ever.
He's not so bad. Like,
no, he just is what he is. Yeah,
yeah. He's got some weird like idiosyncrasies. Like, he didn't want. This was like in the heart of the Me Too movement, and he didn't want any female wait staff coming into the green room, and he also he didn't want any other comics in the green room. Which we didn't find out until he was not at the club yet, but the show was starting.
I just love the idea of him just not getting the Me Too movement on any level to the point where he's like, I understand now. I don't want women anywhere near me. Don't get in the same room. Don't employ them. Like, it's like, it's not. I think you're missing the point here.
The other, like, most Pauly Shore thing was, so no comics allowed in the green room. And he was late getting to the show, which, I mean, he wasn't like late, like anyone had to go long, but when the show started, he wasn't there. And so I was like a little bit like, fuck, I'm going to have to think of the credits to give Pauly Shore because I can't go in the green room and I didn't get to talk to him. And so I was going to say Father of the Bride. He was in a movie called Son-in-Law.
Oh yeah, he's not Father of the Bride.
I know. I was going to bring him up with Father of the Bride, and I was like, "Oh, thank God I dodged that bullet." When
you would have looked you would look like you were confusing him with Steve Martin.
Yeah, and then he did give me his credits, and I was like, "Oh well," I was like, maybe he'd understand. Like, I fucked that up, dude. He said, "You know him." I want you to bring up, you know him from TV and movies, and I was like, "You know him from." I said it like slightly wrong, and he called me into the green room after the show, and he's like, I need the exact wording, TV and movies.
Which is hilarious because, like, but he didn't want it specific. He just want, TV and movies.
Yeah, but I think I said, you know him from TV and the movies, and he's like, not the movies, TV and movie. Like, it was like very, like weirdly specific.
It's weird when certain people have very specific introductions, even though literally everyone there is there for whatever, like for those specific.
They
Like
already know.
You don't have to say anything. You just say give it up for Pauly Shore. Like you don't have to say from TV and movies.
Yeah. My other this is the most Pauly Shore thing of the whole thing is at some point, like third show, he like beckons me into the green room. He has like the manager tell me that he wants me in the green room.
Uh-huh.
I think it was like to change something about his intro is what I thought. And then I walk in and he's on his iPad watching the episode of South Park that's about Pauly Shore.
That's hilarious.
And then this is like right when Trump got elected too, and he had made like an animation of that I think ended up on his Instagram, and he's like, "I'm gonna let you sit and watch part of this with me." I was like, "Okay." It was called like "The Weasel Goes to the White House." I think it's on his Instagram, and I got to watch like I watched like 4 of the 9 minutes or whatever that it was.
I mean, yeah, it's not his fault that he's so crazy. He was like the son of the woman who one of the biggest gatekeepers ever. So he just had his ass kissed by comics like his whole childhood. You know what I mean? Just fucking David Letterman being extra polite to him or whatever. So it's like, yeah, it's not like a surprise that he's.
I feel like you might have some dates at the Comedy Store coming up, and you just realized how.
Well, you can always tell how little someone thinks people will listen to your podcast by how much of a risk they say. Like I don't want to say I don't think your podcast has a lot of followers, but I was about to use the N-word at one point without any fear of consequences.
I want to talk to you about that because you have had like jokes. I know you're like a very liberal guy, but you've had jokes that would be like they wouldn't meet the wokest standards of today, and that Seth Simons article came out a couple days ago.
So fucking lame, that article.
Yeah, well,
let's talk about that. I want to talk about it, actually.
Okay, well, first off, I want to bring up, this is like an interesting moment for me. It was December 31st. New Year's Eve was the last time I saw you, I believe, of 2019.
Yeah, I was like, this is how, I was in like Tacoma for like 2 months and I didn't see it. Well, but to be fair, there's a pandemic.
There was a pandemic, and I think we both ghosted each other at different points. For the record, I think you did. Yeah. By the way, we did make like firm a day, like let's hang out this day, and then you just never texted me back for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. My wife was like mad at you on my behalf.
I thought you just said we both ghosted each other.
Well, no, and then after that, you were like, "No, let's hang out before I leave," and then I just was like, it's like, you know.
Oh, were you trying to ghost me back? I ghosted you, really?
No, I didn't do it like spitefully. I just was. I was spending a lot of time with my family, so I didn't want to introduce any Jewish bacteria into my. But no, so New Year's Eve, you told me that I was included in a Seth Simons article, which is funny to me because one, I stand by the point. I didn't delete the tweet. Like, I stand by the point I made in it. Two, like, nothing happened at all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know for 3 weeks that I was in the article. I just looked this up the other day because I was like.
What was the article? I thought he tagged you in something. Or...
Yeah, he wrote an article. It was actually the one about the Comedy Cellar.
Included some Twitter thing you got in
Yeah, I sent a guy a message. So a guy tweeted like club comedy is code for white supremacy, and then he shared a link from this database that Maria Bamford was maintaining or whatever. I'm sure paying someone to maintain, but it was actually really a cool database because it had like the bookings for like 55 comedy clubs for 3 months and then the demographics. So he used this as evidence. And then, like, black dudes were overrepresented by, like, a lot. And so, like, I just said, like, dude, I think it seems I've worked with many funny women on the road. Like, I think it seems horrible to be a woman doing comedy on the road, but I just don't think there's a good argument for white supremacy. And then And then he basically made it so he's like, black men can benefit from and take part in white supremacy, and also white supremacy is rooted in misogyny, And then I was just like, okay, so he's just saying like the word that he used doesn't mean anything, and he can just say anything means the word that he meant, even
Well,
though
it's
it's
such a
not that.
like to say white supremacy just because you think they're not like clubs. It's just so many abstract ideas here without any
Yes.
like any like specifics to reality. It's
Well, and
just
then he
like
presented proof against himself. That's the thing that, and so I just like, and then he told me that he's like, also don't you know that I'm, first off, I don't even know who this guy is, but he's like, don't you know that I hate being white splained to or something like that? And I was like, okay, like, so this is what it is like the point is bad because I'm white. Like, come on.
yeah, it's yeah, I don't get it. I think Seth Simons is like legitimately like people who support, and I've seen comedians lately support him because they follow they agree with his ideology about white supremacy in the comedy club world, which is once again just, I mean, it's just such a generalization. It's like it's such a generalization. It's not even worth like you're like it's not even worth talking about. It's just like, what do you? I mean, there's so many different club owners. They're all different, and in terms of saying they're white supremacists, I just don't understand. But outside of that, like I've seen comedians lately support him and like share the article because it supports their ideology. Which, if you share that article and you support it, as someone who's like a son of a journalist who's always respected journalist integrity, like it is so infuriating to see people share his article because he is an awful journalist to the point where he should be sued. Like he literally at one point says, talking about David Smith and what's it called, Legion of Skanks, whatever you feel about them, I don't give a shit. All right, I just want to write jokes. I don't care about all these fucking fights, and they're typically fights between comedians who honestly are just not writing material a lot of times. But like he said about David Smith, he literally said in the article, David Smith, comma, a Nazi sympathizer, comma, and then just goes on. It's like, it is so infuriating just in terms of journalism, just to see him say that without any information to back it up. Just from a journalist perspective, it is so offensive to not have any information to back it up and also not mention he's Jewish. He's fucking Jewish, David Smith. So like to say that is such an offense to journalism. And for anyone to be so into their own fucking ideology where they're going to ignore that they're helping perpetuate and put a spotlight on bad journalism, which is equally part of this fucking world of misinformation that both sides are guilty of. Obviously, Republicans are more guilty in many ways, but that doesn't mean we should excuse ourselves. It's fucking infuriating. If you're a comic and you support that, you fucking suck. You fucking suck, and you're not for journalism. You're not for like actual integrity. You're for your own fucking view, and you're a fucking fascist.
Yeah, I feel like we are headed in the world towards like a more authoritarian government, and it's just like a coin flip to me which side it's coming from. Like I
do think like clearly the misinformation is a lot bigger with the right wing. I definitely think that.
I mean,
but that doesn't excuse like justifying misinformation on the other side just because it's similar to your ideology.
But I'm not even talking, when I say authoritarian, I'm not really talking about like the misinformation. I'm talking about like the harshness of punishments for shit like this. Like first off, I agree, he completely has devalued the word Nazi by saying this Jewish guy who I'm not even going to examine or give the reader any information. You just have to go along with me that this Jewish dude is a Nazi sympathizer. Nazi is a very important word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It means something very specific. It is not a general term. And to say that this dude is a Nazi sympathizer is just so insane. It's the same. It's like white supremacy.
Just to not have information to back that up is, first of all, it just seems like libel. It seems like he should be sued. Like, is that not libel just in an article? Is there no like rules for journalism? Like, is it not? I mean, wasn't it published in a fairly respectable, I don't know, New Republic? I don't know what that is, but
I don't know what it is.
He seems to get published in things that I've heard of.
Yeah.
and they do it because he's very clickbaity, but he is a fucking moron and he's mentally ill. And the fact that people indulge in him is fucking gross.
Yeah. Well, I think that the other thing too is, I think have you ever heard, like, to me, when people will say, like, oh, I wish you had the courage to stand up for whatever, like, this thing that everyone agrees with, right?
Mhm.
Like, I wish you had the courage to stand up for Black Lives Matter or whatever. Or, like, they don't say this to me, but it's actually more courageous to go, like, this. I think that comedians should be allowed to, like, say whatever they want when most, like, commenters disagree, right? Like, the people who are writing these articles disagree. I think most comedians, or at least a large enough portion of comedians, probably do agree. But, like, there's a lot of momentum behind his worldview or his view of comedy.
Yeah, it's fascist. I mean, if Legion of Skanks want to have a podcast where they're not inciting violence or inciting, like, things that are not part of free speech, but they're just making really tasteless jokes, and they have a following who listen to them, what the fuck is your problem? Like, you know what I mean? It's just not like you're wanting everyone to subject to what you agree with. And that's not, and it is, things are complicated. Trump has abused, like, what Trump has done. It's actually not that, Trump has incited violence. It's actually not even that complicated, but he has obviously manipulated the idea of free speech. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, like, to say, like, yeah, just like, it's just, once you say there's white supremacy in the comedy club, you're not making an argument. You're shaping the world in this view of good versus evil, and there's no
right. I think the other thing about the white supremacy argument that bothers me is, like, first off, these are people who clearly would never walk into, like, a black comedy show where the audience is predominantly black and all the comics are black. And if they did, they would come out as hypocrites if they supported it, because that's, like, the shit that happens there is, like, mainstream comedy. Like, it's like the shit that like he's not advocating for black people.
Part of the patriarchy and white supremacy, and the only one breaking free from that is me, this white guy who just right about everything. Like, somehow white people have like, they've literally somehow said they're less racist than other people. Like, they somehow, like, have it's like their own version of colonization. You know what I mean? It's like they've colonized now ideas, and, like, they've colonized self-righteousness and justice. And they're like, we hate white people so much, we're going to fight white people more than anyone. White people are the best, like, it's its own. Yeah. It's like it's an insane concept. And, like, I don't know, like, every comedy club is different. They're not all run by some kind of organization. Like, each comedy club is different. Talk about a comedy club, I guess. Talk about specifics. But even those specifics are, like, bizarre. It's just like, it's just, basically there's a lot of comedians who like irreverent. There's some comedy club owners who like really irreverent shit, and there is some overlap between some really irreverent people and some fucking trolls who are, like, can, be right wing, but not all of them are like that. Some of them are just fucking irreverent. You know what I mean? And it's like, but and he also just lists all these other comics just because they were, like, in the same room as the person or on the same stage,
Right.
He's like Bob Woodward if Watergate was just Nixon being in the same room as someone that Bob Woodward hated. That's basically, like, he's done that to my friends where he'll, like, talk about a show they did that was maybe indoors, but, legally, socially distanced for whatever reason. And he'll, like, mention all the comics on the show. And it's like, these are struggling comics trying to work, trying to make money. And it's like, you're just outing everyone. But then again, his whole purpose is for us to be annoyed. So this is all fucking part of it.
So that's happening out here right now. There's like unnamed producers secretly blacklisting people because they're performing live right now, which, first off, what are the fucking chances that person was going to book me anyway? Like, it's
right.
I guarantee you I've never been booked by any person that did that. I do want to read a tweet to you of mine because it goes, I said, is that
any live or just indoors or any live?
Well, we don't have a lot of outdoor right now because the weather's shitty, but yeah, I mean, it's just in person. So it's, my tweet is, I know a white person who never tweeted about Black Lives Matter or the oppression of black people until June 1st. and is now calling BLM his community and talking about how he is making a difference by complaining online, proving there is nothing white people won't colonize.
Mm-hmm.
And then
your tweet?
That's my tweet, and then I quote tweeted it.
Kind of a joke, similar to your tweet. This is a real rock bottom for me.
And then on June, so that was on June 1st that he tweeted about it for the first time. On June 25th, he hadn't tweeted about anything Black Lives Matter or racial oppression or anything like that for 2 weeks.
Right.
It was like he took like a vacation in activism.
Man, nothing kills a conversation like bringing up a tweet. Really just killed the momentum there. Well, it's like this tweet I wrote. I would rather you just show me your dick.
Oh, but we're gonna get to that later, by the way.
Obviously there's a lot of white douchebags who definitely tried to be really loud during BLM and take over, especially fucking idiots in Seattle who tried to like make it more about their views, their own fucking issues. Yeah, that happened a lot. White people suck. And you know, I just fucking hate Seth Simons. I've always seen him as someone mentally ill, but then like Jeselnik shared the article and I don't know why he did that, but like, it's just like, I'm starting to realize this guy's actually getting respect and that's kind of scary.
Yeah. I actually sent him, he was on the Comedy Cellar podcast and I listened to him.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, I think there's maybe differing views on this. I thought it was like pretty, there was a lot of integrity to have him on the podcast to talk about the article and not just talk about him without him there. But he said he got death threats for some of the like articles he's written. And I sent him a thing. I was like, hey man, I disagree with you on almost everything, but I don't think you should get death threats. Like,
obviously.
Yeah, I'm like a free speech true believer, which is that I think he should be able to say what he wants without facing violence. And I think that comedians should be able to make jokes without like having their fucking family doxxed or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of douchebags who are on the internet who trolled him, but that doesn't mean he's not also a douchebag.
Right.
Like, you know, a lot of arguments seem complicated. They get, you know, fights between people, they get a lot less complicated when you just realize both parties are fucking annoying and douchebags, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
you know, maybe they're right about each other on some level, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. When you were speaking of me taking my dick out for you, I remember when the stuff with Louis. By the way, we can cut this out if you want. If this makes you
real quickly, I'm not saying there isn't like an alt-right shit in comedy. I'm not saying that. I hope that's clear. Like,
well, do you think
I'm just saying like supporting something without any journalistic integrity is not helping the problem?
Well, I actually think that alt-right though it's such a lazy. What's happened is the same thing with Nazi, right? Is we go, okay, we all agree that it's okay to punch Nazis, right? We all agree it's okay to punch Nazis, and we're like, yeah, I guess. Like, I wasn't thinking about it, but sure, punch a Nazi, and then you go, okay, well now you're a Nazi, just so you know, I'm not.
Right.
Like we take this thing and we go, we all agree on this. Now let's broaden the definition of this to the point that we can start like culling the people we don't agree with or like, and that's my problem. Is like, I know one comedian who was part of the Proud Boys, and he got fucking, like, nobody lets that dude just, like, go on stage and scream hate speech. That's not happening. So, I don't know that, like, the idea that there's a lot of comedians that are all right. Thank you, by the way. We needed a Raanan sneeze right into the, the idea that there's, like, a ton of actual alt-right comedians, I think seems unrealistic.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's obviously a lot of alt-right people in the country, so a lot of some comedy fans are going to be alt-right because there's all sorts of comedy fans. But in terms of comedians, I don't know. Like, yeah, I feel like you kind of know the ones who, you know, are a little, you know, it's like Nick DiPaolo. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. It's like, it gets a little blurry when someone who's just like kind of sometimes. Some people can't tell the difference between like racist and like really insensitive. Someone who's just kind of an asshole.
Well,
you know what I mean?
And also like they can't tell the difference between sarcasm and genuine statement, or they're willfully ignoring the fact that it's sarcasm because it benefits them in that moment too.
But really, at the end of the day, I just think like believe whatever you believe, but do not support something that is journalistically such a fucking sham. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By someone who's literally just like, I guess if you don't know him, like everyone in New York knows he's like mentally ill.
Right.
And just like creates this drama. But then I guess the problem is then he moves on to like a bigger national appeal. And then people don't know that. So they think he's fucking insane. And now this crazy person has like, you know, is getting shared by like actual people. And now this, you know, fucking crazy person who literally, when he canceled Shane Gillis, I always wanted to Gillis. When he brought up the video of Shane Gillis, he literally on his Twitter the next day goes, all right, now that I have these new followers, follow my bird poetry here. Like he's shamelessly, it's the shamelessness of it was so infuriating. Like not simply that he's doing this to get attention, his own follow. He's bringing someone else down to get his own follow. Whether you thought Shane Gillis deserved to be on SNL or not, his motive for doing that was to get his own followers.
For sure.
And that is annoying enough, but then the shamelessness to act like that's not even something you should be embarrassed by is so insane. Like the fact that he's just like, here's all right, now that I have new followers, follow this thing. It's like a disgusting society.
Yeah, it's like a sound. It's like the thing where someone goes viral and they're like, "Here's my SoundCloud," but on a scale where nobody's like taking that SoundCloud and using it to make policy or whatever.
Bringing someone down, it's just like and you know, I don't know, the Shane Gillis thing. It's not, you know, it's not my, you know, it was SNL's decision. You know what I mean? And if there's cast members, once the videos are out, if there's cast members who feel uncomfortable, you know, I don't run SNL, but I will say we shouldn't ignore the motives of the person who brought us this video of Shane.
Yeah.
We shouldn't ignore the fact that someone literally just went through an old podcast, looked and found a video just to that's like a fucked up thing to do.
Yeah. Well, it's also that first we came poem. The like first they came poem where it's like first they came for the Jews and I didn't say anything because I'm not Jewish. Mm-hmm. Then they came for the whatever and I didn't say anything because I'm not whatever. Like that's the way I feel about it is like I don't want to do the comedy, the like
not a ball to compare this whole thing to the fucking Holocaust right in front of a Jew, buddy. You're like that woman who just got fucking canceled on Star Wars.
Oh yeah, no. Well, hold on. This isn't that crazy of a comparison.
What did she say? She said, "What's the difference between being a Jew in the '30s and like being attacked for your political beliefs now?" Who is this woman?
Gina Carano.
Which is insane because it's like a Jewish is not a political belief.
Right.
If it was, Jews are good arguers. If it was, they could have talked their way out of Auschwitz.
All right, so this is how the poem goes. It starts out with socialists. I'm not reading you a goddamn poem. I'm just telling you the order. It goes socialist, trade unionist, and then Jews.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I went Jews first. It's the only one I remembered.
Yeah.
But the point is like these people doing offensive jokes are making it so that me, who's doing a lot less offensive jokes, don't have to face like, you know, a fucking dickhead in Tacoma protesting outside of a comedy club over jokes. And I think like that's maybe I don't want to do the kind of comedy they do, but I would defend it because I think that it's like they're not stopping at Shane Gillis, obviously, right?
Yeah, and no, I agree. And it's complicated because Shane Gillis is truly hilarious. He's like a really funny guy, and I think, you know, from little I know, I'm a very nice guy, but like, but yeah, I mean, I do. It sucks that there's like the crazy like far left people who like hate really like offensive, you know, hate that jokes go into a certain area, but the ones who are really defending jokes a lot of times also go like too far.
Yeah,
it's like you just wish like, you know, because they're like, you shouldn't be able to say, you know, everything's white supremacy, and then the guy going, "Fuck you." This joke where I was in blackface and fucking baby on stage is just a joke, and then you're like, all right, can we have sane people? Someone said, someone told me like they said the battle right now isn't between the left and the right, but the like fucking extreme and like everyone else. The extreme.
Yeah, I think I know who told you that because he's my favorite comedian, and I've heard him say it on podcasts.
Oh yeah, it was Joe List, but
Yeah, maybe even a podcast with you.
Oh really? Well, he didn't. It wasn't. Someone else
stole his material, dude.
But so it's just like yeah. I hate extremes. I have always followed the Aristotelian, the Aristotelian mean, the golden mean. All extremes are evil. The answer lies. Virtue is the middle point between two extremes.
That's
Aristotle was correct.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. It didn't bring it to a halt like you've been accusing me of for the past fucking 45 minutes. It was beautiful. Okay. My daughter's is stirring on this monitor I'm watching.
Shut the fuck up. It's a fucking podcast.
So I want to make sure that we talk about a couple things before I have to go. One is, you told me a couple of years ago, I was like, we were talking about working with Louis and what you would do if you were given the opportunity to work with Louis.
Uh-huh.
And I said, like, I think at the time especially, it would have been radioactive here to work with Louis. But like morally, I'd be okay with it, but it would be like very much radioactive. And I think you told me like, fuck any comedian that gets mad at you for like working, for making money. And then you've since like done some shows with Louis.
I did one. Yeah, I mean, I've done.
You're his primary opener. You sleep in the same hotel room on the road. You book his travel.
I opened for Joe List once on a show in like Pennsylvania, and we had to drive there, and like Louis drove us. He was on the show. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's everyone's call. I mean, it's what feels comfortable. I mean, I personally, I think what Louis did was wrong, and I think he's been punished.
Yeah,
that's what I think, and I think it's like insane to think he hasn't been punished, and I know he's been punished because he's a millionaire and I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. So I know he's been punished. So like, I think it's insane to act like he hasn't. Like he hasn't been punished. It's like, you're like, he's gotten away with everything. It's like, would you be him right now? No. Well, then maybe he hasn't got away with it. So I think he did. Obviously what he did was wrong, but I think I don't know. I think he's paid for it. And I still need to do gigs, and I don't know. I don't begrudge people for trying to make, everyone should make their own choice, obviously, but like, well,
nobody in their right mind would say that you're wrong for turning down work. Like, it's fine to turn down whatever work you want. What I'm talking about is like persecuting people for having different morality than you.
I guess when it comes to the Louis thing, it's kind of like, if you're saying you don't think anyone should work with him, what you're essentially saying is you don't think he should do comedy anymore. And where I stand, and maybe I'll get in trouble for this, but where I stand is what he did was fucked up. He's clearly paid for it, but to think that the punishment should be the thing he's great at, that is his artistic outlet, for him to never do that artistic outlet ever again, if you think that's ultimately the punishment, I think that punishment is too far. And I think that's how I feel about it. And I think the world is dying, and I think there's bigger issues.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's like there's a lot of hypocrisy for people who are like against the death penalty, but are like thrilled when someone they disagree with dies.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're doing let's talk about the one-man show, because you have, I think I've asked you this before, but is it your third one-man show?
I think it's like my fifth.
Holy
maybe.
Shit, really?
Wait, hold on.
So I've seen Off the Grid. What were the ones besides that?
I did a show about movies called Crying Behind 3D Glasses. I did a show about losing my virginity called Please Someone Fuck Me. I did my first album was like a solo show called Self Helpless, and then this.
So first off, I watched by the way, can I tell you the pretense to have an intermission on a Zoom show? You asshole.
Did you watch the show?
I watched.
the
Yeah,
first
you sent me the audio from it because I watched just the first half. I haven't gotten to the second half. I'm sorry. I had a lot of motivation to, and then it took like a week, and I was lost all motivation.
Yeah, I mean it's a long show, but you know, I imagine as a show with an intermission in the theater, so it's like, you know, structurally that's how I imagine it. You know, look, I love Stuart Lee, and he's used intermission in a really interesting way, and the way the structure of the show is an intermission, and honestly, it needs an intermission. Like I need a break personally, you know.
Sure. No, I mean, obviously, I'm just joking.
But you know, you're right. Obviously, the insecurity, you know.
Well, that's actually the thing, though. What's funny to me about that is you have the insecurity about hearing someone make fun of you about the intermission, but not the insecurity to go, I'm doing a one-man show. I'm doing a 90-minute one-man show on Zoom, and that's like I mean, first off, it's not like I have a 90-minute one-man show chambered. But even like going like, I want to work on material on Zoom, I'm just like, no one's going to show up. I'm going to be doing it to my mom and my fucking wife downstairs in my house. It's going to suck. I'm not going to get the reaction I want. So
I mean, life, you know, you got to take those risks, you know. I mean, It actually helped me. I wrote the show out right before the pandemic, and I had it in my head for a while.
Oh, cool.
And it was really hard for me to like, it was a show where I actually did have to memorize it. And it was really daunting actually to do that. Like I actually put off doing it on stage. So Zoom gave me an opportunity to actually kind of like, you know, memorize it in kind of a very low, you know, it's actually a much more comfortable situation. You know, it's just like an intimate Zoom setting.
Because that's the thing that's tough too is, you know, I have like, let's say 45 minutes of material, but that's taken, you know, years of failure and cutting entire bits. It's not the first 45 minutes of material I ever wrote. There was a bunch of failed material along the way. And that's the thing that's scary about, to me, even the idea of writing a one-man show is starting down the path and going like, well, this fucking sucks. And I'm 45 minutes into it.
Well, I mean, my one-man shows have a lot of comedy in them. So it's not like...
You don't consider them comedy shows? They're comedy shows.
Yeah, they're comedy shows, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like not like... I mean, so I guess what I'm saying is what's the difference between you doing an hour or doing a one-man show in terms of worrying that it sucks?
Because it's like if you're doing... Because the one-man show is like, that's the bit. You're doing like one bit the whole show with a lot of jokes in it.
Yeah, I guess so, but it's not.
If I'm failing, I can just go into my story about working with Tom Arnold on the road.
Right. So eventually, I guess if you do comedy long enough, eventually you stop thinking in terms of, I don't know, maybe the safety net of going into old, you know? I mean, not now. I guess I do that too a lot, but like, yeah, maybe that's what's cool about one-man shows. You are committing to something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I think, like, to me, it's a tightrope. That's what I'm saying is like, I think that the idea is daunting because like I'll write a bit and it's like, I'm like, holy shit, for a 4-minute bit, that's fucking great. It feels like you'd have to write a 90-minute bit basically.
I'm trying to think. I mean, did you see Off the Grid as like a 90-minute bit or an hour-long bit?
Kinda, yeah. Like I think it's like I mean, in like if in like a stand-up sense, I think it's like, you know, a long Goldman bit or something like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess
certainly like many jokes in the middle, but there's like, yeah, it's all one.
I guess, yeah. No, for sure. I guess yes, it is a risk. But that's the risk of having something that's more focused. You know, that I mean, I like both. I like both aspects. I like stand up. I think it's fun to be able to say whatever you want and go to different places. But I like the cohesiveness of a solo show. I like it not being fragmented. That's something I like doing. So there's a risk, but there's also a payoff, which is that it's fucking about something. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
you know, and I like to, you know, I am a screenwriter, or try to be a screenwriter, so I've always liked the cohesiveness of a movie. And for stand-up, has always seemed very fragmented to me, and like in a way where it's like, you know, I want things to be about something. So I find it to have like a big payoff, you know.
So do you, when you sit down to write that, like, what is because again, like, to develop 45 minutes, I've taken several years and pieced shit together and do it in different orders and stuff, which is like not an option when you're telling a story, right? Like, I mean, there's maybe a little bit of like timeline shifting you can do, but
they've all been different. I mean, when I was first doing solo shows, a lot of it was I actually did develop a decent amount of material like on its own, just separately. And then there's this moment where I was like, hey, I could piece these all together into an idea for a show and then add, more in that direction. So that's like retroactively kind of creating the show. Like my first show about movies, it was about, the story was about this girl who I was pregnant, who it might have been mine. I didn't know. And at the same time, I was watching Jurassic Park in theaters, and it was like its 25th year anniversary, and it was my favorite movie.
Jesus, how old are you?
I'm old. And what do you mean?
Because Jurassic Park came out when I was like in third grade or something.
25th year. I was watching the 25th year anniversary. Was in theaters. I didn't get a girl pregnant when I was 8, but so like I'd watch in theaters and it didn't hold up the way I remembered it. And then it came the idea of a show where I'm like waiting to see if this kid is mine, which is like a big part of growing up, and then watching this movie that didn't really hold up. And then as I'm waiting, going through these older movies to see if they hold up. But as I thought of that, I was like, the reason I thought of that is because I have a lot of jokes about different things not holding up, different movies. So I retroactively could incorporate it into that story and then add other stuff. For this show, I just wrote it completely from scratch. So it's much different. So I really did just kind of write it. I didn't really retroactively build on it. But, did you like what you saw? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And I think it's like the thing that impresses me is the fact that you haven't done it on stage, and I've done, 10 or so Zoom shows. And one of the challenges of Zoom is that it's hard to get the timing, because sometimes when the audience laughs, it like just because of the technology, it takes it fucks your mic up and all that stuff. I thought it was good. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Off the Grid. I thought that it's unfortunate that you didn't get like a great video of it, because I think that what a thing to release right now, right?
I know. I fucking regret it. Yeah. I should have filmed it beforehand, and now I'm like moved on to this other show. But like, maybe I'll still try to film it. But I like doing that. I like doing both. They're both
because you also do. By the way, you do like you have a Valentine's show that's gonna have happened before this comes out, but it's like
Well, that's just stand up,
I understand, but it's like jokes with some kind of theme. You also do the we've done it together, the Raanan Super Jewy Christmas special, I believe. That's like, I don't know how much overlap there is between that and then your like normal act, but that's like a lot of fucking content, man.
The thing is like, if you're just doing stand up and you're not a draw, there's really no marketability. Come see this guy do stand up. You know what I mean? Typically the way it works is it's like, come see, Louis C.K. do stand up. You know what I mean? So like it's easier to be marketable if you actually have a show, because then you can like actually possess an idea,
Oh, that's interesting.
So I remember I would go on the road doing Off the Grid, and I would get a decent amount of people at shows. They didn't know who I was, but I used the concept of the show intrigued them,
That's interesting. That's
I think it's great to do. Yeah. And I think it's good too, because so much of stand up is being unemotional or not being vulnerable, and solo shows do. The challenge of each one is there are parts where I have to be like vulnerable, and that's a hard thing to do. And you have that stand up voice in your head going, don't do this. You're a fucking pretentious douchebag. We're so fucking cynical that we think being vulnerable is the same thing as pretentious. And when I do a solo show, it allows me to it's almost like it allows me to break free from those, that kind of, I don't know, feeling.
All right.
Sorry.
That's all right.
A lot. I just drank some matcha tea.
What did you say?
Am I talking too much? I just drank.
No, you're good, man. You're very. By the way, so you're doing a movie podcast with Joe List. It's fun. I've listened to some of them. Oh, it is weird. By the way, you had like the biggest career ascent in advance of this pandemic of anybody that I know, which is you do James Corden, you release an album, you get passed at the Comedy Cellar, you're on Comedy Central, and then the pandemic happens. Basically,
Yeah.
that's maybe not in that exact order, but like roughly that, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But now, like, you're living my dream because Joe List is my favorite comic, and you talk to him roughly weekly about movies.
Well, I mean, the fact that your dream is to just talk to someone about movies is.
Well, I might talk about sports instead, but yeah, no, I'm very like I've been on multiple occasions. It's been cool to be like, oh, that's like I know Raanan. Like that's
Yeah.
It's weird how comedy gets you so close. Like to think that I was talking to somebody else about this recently. Like the comedians that I'm 1 degree of separation from is like all of them.
Yeah.
Like I know you, and you've done a show with Louis C.K. or you live in New York. You've done shows, I'm sure, with a ton of people. Everybody, the comedians that I know that live in New York have done shows with the best comedians in the history of comedy.
Yeah.
And that's really crazy. And to watch, like, I've really enjoyed watching multiple things you've done. Not to say that I'm taking any credit for them myself. But then, like, you just have this movie podcast, and I've thought about this. I have a story about you at the movies.
When we saw Hail Caesar?
No, we didn't see Hail Caesar. We saw Knives Out.
Oh, right. No, Hail Caesar was someone else. We saw Knives Out together?
Yes.
I mean, I hated it.
I don't think you hated it completely then. I actually think you liked it more than me. But there was this moment.
Really? I hate that movie. Was I like, did I have a different opinion when I came out?
I think you liked it. I mean, I think you certainly watch movies differently than I do, so I think there were things about it that you liked that I probably didn't even notice. But yeah, you're an enormous fan. You wrote an entire blog post.
I can't stand that movie. Yeah, but maybe my hatred kind of seeped in later on.
By the way, now that we were talking about pretense, you did a funny thing. We tried to get your phone to connect to my Bluetooth, and instead we just listened to your album on your phone. Like the tracks before it was
when we were driving to
something like. I mean, I think we were parked eating pokey actually, and you. But so, which sounds so much more like a prick move than it actually was. We were doing.
Did we see it at the theater, like right by the river, right by the what do you call it, the condos on the water?
No, I don't know. We saw it at it was called Lakewood Town Center.
Oh, okay, it was a different place. Okay.
Yeah. So, but anyways, the thing that you did that I still think about, because I don't know, it's like I can't figure out if it was because you're such a present person or if you're the least present person I've ever met.
Definitely the second one.
So we go to the urinal, and you were very much like the conversation does not stop in the bathroom person.
Yeah.
And we're peeing at urinals that are next to each other, and all of a sudden I look down and there's just a stream of piss like running away from me. Like I still don't understand what happened because you just like
I gotta remember it now.
You just entirely missed the urinal and we're peeing directly on the wall.
And I just like ran out. I know.
Like a full piss went into the wall because you were looking at me.
I know. I'm such a like. I'll like do like a solo show with an intermission, and then I'm fucking moron.
and
yeah.
An intermission in that piss would have saved a janitor a fucking hole.
Yeah, I'm such a clown. I burned my fucking eye while cooking the other day. Literally almost blinded myself. I don't know if it's there anymore, but fucking hot load of grease hit me right in the fucking eye while I was cooking.
That's funny.
But yeah, I'm a clown, and that's hilarious.
I also love that I don't think you remembered it until this moment.
Oh, 100%.
Do you still take baths every day?
I have bad memory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you're not important to me. No kidding.
I mean, like, actually, I was thinking about this. Do you know? I'm sure you know comedians like this that they always want to like play up how damaged and mysterious comedians are.
Yeah.
And what I found is that the only times comedians actually live up to that, because I think most of the time we're just like boring introverts.
Mm-hmm.
But when another comedian dies is when like the real like perversion of what makes comics comes out. There's a comic dude named Chris Brannon who passed away like yesterday.
Oh,
And
shit.
like he used to manage one of the Comedy Underground clubs, and like good dude. And he became famous from something else. He was like an activist and like not an annoying activist, but like he was a kind of political activist guy. And he advocated for the Seattle Supersonics to come back. He went by Sonics guy. That's how most people would know him. Anyway, the shit, like a couple people, because they knew I knew him, have sent me messages. And like the horrible shit that I'm sure he would laugh at also that comics say about a comic that died is really the like where that's the true thing about like the nerve endings being gone.
Well, I think comedians just know that when someone dies, it's the best opportunity to get a laugh because it's the most somber. You know what I mean? We're just trying to have a laugh in the best. You know, it's just a great time to get a laugh. You know.
Yeah.
But that's true. That is true. But you know, I think we're affected by it too. We just joke about it. You know.
Sure.
But anyway, I gotta go.
All right. Do you still take baths?
I fucking ghosted you, by the way. I really didn't.
Oh, it's okay.
I know we had like a vague thing, and then it didn't fall through.
No, so this is the deal. Is we had a vague-ish thing, but it was like the only day that I had available for like a couple weeks, and then you were like, "Oh no, sorry, I have to write for the show." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, like that's just gonna be."
But I told you that day, right? I just flaked at the last second.
Oh, I mean, I think like we had like vague plans. I followed up 3 times, and then you told me that day. But like,
right.
Yeah.
But you followed up, and I answered
after the third attempt at following up, something like this. I might be exaggerating slightly.
I will say this though: it is not ghosting if I flaked at the last second. It's flaking. I didn't go.
Well, no. It's ghosting. This is now we're getting fucking into it. I got 45 more minutes on this. My daughter can wait.
Let's just bring it up. All right.
It was. I think there was multiple like, "Hey, dude, are we still on for Saturdays?" with no answer.
Really?
And then on Saturday, but yeah, we don't talk very much, Raanan, so it shouldn't be. Oh yeah, there was a coffee tomorrow at 11:36 a.m.
Let me get to it.
There wasn't multiple. I'll give you there wasn't multiple.
We talk. I'm scrolling.
There's not that much. You're missing it then because it's on December 11th. Coffee tomorrow, 11:36 a.m.
I did miss it.
The next day, 10:54 a.m. Almost a full 24 hours later.
Wait,
Shit,
I don't have December 11th. Oh no, December 11th. Coffee tomorrow. Okay, 2:36 p.m. December 12th. All right, 24 hours later. Shit, sorry. Today is no good. I got to write for the show I'm doing. Tomorrow can work.
Yeah, a full 24 hours.
Yeah, that's not that. You made it look like I fucking.
Hold on.
That's not that bad.
I think there might have been
then I think you ghost me because then you go, I can't do.
No, I did. That was what I said.
How long are you here? Maybe the weekend. You said weekend because you're a fucking retard after Christmas, and then I go, yeah, I'm leaving like January 5th, so that works, or free sometime this week. No response.
I told you I ghosted you back. By the way, these the glasses situation. I hope people are watching this on video.
They're like,
it's a real fucking old lady thing you got going on there.
Well, okay, yeah. So I basically didn't. You tried to confirm it the day before, and I took a day to be like, sorry, I can't do it. Yeah, I guess that is pretty shitty.
Yeah, that's fine. We're still like, I'm not. Again, this is like I know you're not the first comic I've ever been, loose acquaintances with.
We're friends. We're fucking friends.
Hey, I'm scared to say it. You might fucking change your mind in 12 hours.
We're fucking friends. Yeah, no. Well, look, I'll be back in Tacoma. We'll hang out.
All right. I'm glad. That's all I wanted to end this podcast.
Or if I flake on you, I'll do it earlier.
I just got
no, but to be fair, shit was complicated. Yeah, but I would not have done that in normal times.
I got you, man. I was just,
and
first off, the other thing is like I would have done it any day of the week in normal times, but I'm like trying to time out if I get infected by you.
Right.
Am I like, when's the next time I'm going to see my family? And if I'm going to see them, am I going to fuck them up? Like, yeah, we're
parents,
yeah.
Like there was a whole tentative thing going on,
Yeah. And I hope, did your parents get vaccinated, by the way?
They got their first. They're about to get their second. Yeah.
Oh, great. That's my parents too. It's such a relief.
I know. I feel like their vaccination. I mean, I know they say there are delays, but I feel like every old person I know has been vaccinated. So
yeah,
it's going well.
Yeah.
But all right, man. Well, this is great talking. I'm glad we talked.
We really cleared a lot up. I was never going to talk to you again if this didn't happen today. So
it's like the like a really Louis and Mark Maron, a poor man's Louis and Mark Maron conversation.
All right, I'm gonna hang up.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye.